work so you can play.
Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and this is a rules you get wrong. We haven't done one of these in a while, but I just recently put up a beat map Batrep of Tyranids versus Necrons, and holy moly did I ever get a lot of rules wrong. Now there's always going to be some rules that we get wrong in every single game, because miniature war games are complicated. They have a ton of rules, lots of special rules, lots of situations that come up because you're not playing on a board where it's like tiles which really control your movement, so many things can come up. So I expect to make mistakes, or at least, you know, whatever. So some things can happen, but I don't know what happened. I hadn't played 40k in a little while, and so maybe that's my excuse. I don't know what it was, but I want to go over the comments. First off, you guys are great, because even though I got a lot of rules wrong, your comments were still great. They weren't like, you're an idiot, I can't believe you can't remember this. They were all in good taste. It's just people saying, yeah, I like the battle report, but you know, these rules are wrong. Just want to point that out. And I also encourage that, and you guys know that. I like to encourage you guys pointing it out, because 5,000 or 10,000 people watching a battle report will pick out rules errors much faster than 1 or 2 people playing the game. And that's how we learn, is by other people pointing it out. Otherwise, I would have made a lot of these mistakes again, probably. Although not some of them. I don't know what I was thinking for some of them. So I want to go over those right now. There's also a few that people pointed out that weren't actually wrong. And so this is a combination of rules you get wrong, like you talking to me, and rules you get wrong, which is fine, because we're all learning these games. So let's go through these. General Cross. I think your reserves came on a turn early, Matt. Great Necron army, by the way. I brought in my reserves turn 1. Now, I was a second player, so maybe my brain thought that it was already turn 2. But yeah, I totally brought them in on turn 1. I still lost, so you know, maybe that's why people were nice about telling me what rules I got wrong. If I had won and got all these rules wrong, then that would like make it look like I was cheating. But since I lost anyways, maybe that's why you're more patient with me. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, reserves don't come in turn 1. They start coming in turn 2. Now there are some exceptions, but not in the Tyranid or Necron lists. Okay, so none there. So don't know what happened there. Dark Heroic 33. The Doom should have been instant killed by the Necron Lord. Strength 8 War Scythe versus Toughness 4. The War Scythe only gives you +2 strength, and the Necron Lord or Overlords are strength 5, and so they're actually in strength 7. So no, they do not insta-kill the Doom Elementai. Petite Billy, you forgot the Young Girl's Fleet. You could have re-rolled that charge distance. Trust me, later in the game, I was like, wait a second, they have Fleet. Oh! Or actually, it's like, Faceplode! Because that was like a hugely important charge for the game. Them popping out right in front of those Necron warriors. If they had charged, they would have killed them, and that would have been awesome. In fact, I was going to give them the +1 toughness in the assault phase, so that I didn't want to kill all the Necron warriors. I just wanted to kill most of them, so that in the next turn, during the Necron turn, then the rest of them would die, and the Genius Healers could then, during my turn, charge somebody else. That's usually what I try to do when I'm charging. If it's an enemy that they're good enough, but they're not going to kill me really easily, I like to try to not hurt them too much so that I can kill them in their turn rather than my turn. But yeah, come on, they have Fleet. I know that. They have move through cover, they have Fleet, they're awesome. And I forgot that. Petite Billy, another one. You couldn't allocate the wounds to the Parasite in the Parasite/Death Leaper combat. They're 2 separate units, independent character and single model. So you should have targeted one or the other. He'd have hit on 5 if he targeted the Leaper, though. You're right. They should have actually specified which model he was hitting, because they are 2 separate units. Doesn't matter because he's an independent character, because if an independent character joins a unit and then charges into the combat, you don't treat the independent character as its own combat. That was 5th edition, where you would do that. Now you just treat it as one unit that he's part of, and you allocate wounds accordingly, and lookout surges and all that kind of stuff. But in this case, they weren't one unit, they both charged independently. Another one for Petite Billy. Still in the Parasite/Leaper combat, your rending hits with the Parasite did matter, since those cause instant death on 2 wound raise. They do not cause instant death. Nowhere does rending say that causes instant death. What rending does is it ignores armor saves. If you think that the Death Leaper, or a Lictor for that matter, has a special case with their rending, I looked it up, because I'm like, does they have that? The special rule that the Death Leaper has is called Killing Blow, which allows them to rend on a 5 or a 6. The Killing Blow kind of sounds like the special rule from Fantasy where it does something like instant death, but it's not. It's just Killing Blow, a special rule that lets him wound or rend on a 5 or a 6, not just a 6. It's awesome, but still no instant death. Gerald 85. In the old One-Eye / Wraith Barge Lord combat, you can't issue or accept challenges from a chariot. You are right. Also, I didn't see a reanimation roll from the dead Barge Lord. I think he forgot to do that, because he is ever-living, so he could have stood back up. But I know he did not roll it, so he did forget that. And with precision hits, you don't allocate hits, only wounds. So your precision hits are still only rolling to wound versus majority toughness, not individual, in the Doom versus Lord / Immortals. And are then allocated by the attacker. Not being picky, just highlighting some easily overlooked rules. You're not being picky at all. And like I said at the beginning, thank you for contributing these. Everliving, that's the username, says, the command barge is a fast vehicle, so can move 12 inches and still fires weapon at BS4. That is right. The 2 Tomb Blades should not have reanimated, as there were no models left in the squad at the end of the phase. They do not have Everliving. I know that. Why did I let him reanimate those? That was a big deal, because that was a kill point. But it didn't even cross my mind that he shouldn't be able to reanimate those. Or did they reanimate earlier, and I just didn't kill them all? No, they reanimated after I killed the entire squad. So you're right, they should not have reanimated at all. Only Everliving allows you to reanimate, even if your squad's all dead. Everliving has another one. He says, one more, I just remembered the rolls for reanimation on the Lord with the Res Orb. Even if he had failed, the other models in the squad would still have benefited from it, as if they were knocked down in the same phase. That is incorrect. What the rule in the FAQ says is, while the marker for the ever-living guy who has a resurrection orb is still there, they benefit from the resurrection orb. So if you do him first and he fails his, they no longer benefit from the resurrection orb. Whereas what you want to do is you want to do his last. See, I had it backwards. I said you should do it first, because if he doesn't stand up, then they don't get his resurrection orb. Whereas what I should have said is you should do him last, because then they get to use it as long as that token is there. So if you check the FAQ, it's actually on the first page of the Necrons FAQ where it talks about that. And it even says in parentheses, so make sure you do his last. So I got that backwards, but what you said was incorrect as well, and what I did was incorrect. Well, I didn't incorrectly do it, it was bad advice that I gave the other player. It's okay, he still beat me. Shingen. Doom is classified as a monstrous creature, AP2 melee. The Lord shouldn't get an armor save. The Doom is not a monstrous creature. Simple as that. It's just infantry. A fellow wargamer. Matt, you should have taken the Primaris power for the Doom. I explained that when I was taking it. I thought, normally I take the Primaris power because it's awesome, but I thought I was creating a good list, which I wasn't. It was bad. And so I thought, I want to just roll for it, see what I get. Got something completely useless. But you're right, the Psychic Shriek. If you're going to bring the Doom and you want to be competitive, definitely trade his power for the Primaris power of telepathy. His power is good, because if he can zip up his strength and then shoot that big blast that's AP1, it's good. It really is. But it's good anti-vehicle as well. But really, the Psychic Shriek is a better way to kill off a lot of guys, especially because it ignores armor and cover, whereas the Doom's innate ability ignores armor but not cover. And so going after things like Terminator, sure, you can use its innate power to fire the large blast as AP1, but you could also just do the Psychic Shriek, which ignores their armor too. So both ways works. But I agree. I should have taken that. Now I explained why I didn't, though. Draxier. Swarm Lord only instant deaths on a failed leadership check on 3d6. It could have just been a wound. That is incorrect. The regular bone swords that the Tyranids have do that. But if you are the Swarm Lord, it just causes instant death. If you look up his rules, it just says he has bone sabers. He has they're special weapons. He's got 4 of them. So if he hits you and wounds you, you're dead. Unless you have Eternal Warrior, of course. V Darkwing 18. You can't challenge on your opponent's turn. That is incorrect. Your opponent gets to choose to challenge before you do. So when it's during the assault phase, when you enter an assault, the person whose turn it is issues challenges, and then if they don't issue a challenge, then you can issue a challenge. The Cannibal Badger 18 should have put the Death Leaper on first and used Pheromone Trail for the Mycetic Spore. That's interesting that you said that, because I looked it up and I was like, oh, when I read Pheromone Trail a long time ago, it says that while the Lictor or Death Leaper is on the board, you get +1 to your reserve rolls. And I kind of stopped there. I didn't continue reading. But what it also says is if you deep strike something within 6 inches of it, it doesn't scatter. And I didn't know that. I don't know how I missed that. I think it's because I hardly ever use lictors. But, so they're basically kind of like a chaos icon where you can deep strike stuff near or whatever. There's lots of different things that can do that. And that actually all of a sudden makes lictors a little more interesting, because you can, when you deploy a lictor from reserve, you just place it on the board wherever you want, like anywhere. As long as it's at least 1 inch away from the enemy and it's not impassable terrain, he just pops out. So you essentially, if he comes on at the same time as something that's deep striking, you can place him wherever you want, and as long as you want to deep strike stuff within 6 inches, it doesn't scatter. So you almost get to choose where something deep strikes, which is a very powerful combination, as long as a lictor comes on. Now, of course, if you throw in a Hive Tyrant with Hive Commander, which gives you +1 to your reserve rolls, or the Swarm Lord, which gives you the same thing, then it's very likely he'll come on, because then it's a 2+ reserve roll. So that's interesting, so thank you for pointing that out. Maximilian Woodward, sorry, when I say 15 and 18, that's how many hours ago it was. So I probably shouldn't read that. Maximilian Woodward. Mind Shackle Scarabs can only be used in lieu of attacks. You can't use both. That is incorrect. Mind Shackle Scarabs are not a weapon. They are a piece of war gear that has a special rule. You don't use them instead of attacking. Now, the thing that gets Mind Shackle Scarabed, if it fails its leadership test, then it does its attacks against itself or its own unit in lieu of attacking the enemy. But when you use Mind Shackle Scarabs, you don't actually use them. They're just on you when they happen. And the last one, Grapesman 51.5 or 515 says Reanimation Protocols is a 5+. That is correct, unless you have a Resurrection Orb, in which case it is a 4+. So I don't know if there was a part of the game where we rolled on a 4+ when it should have been a 5+, or vice versa, but that is the rule for that. So that was the rules you get wrong for the Necrons vs. Tyranids. I do apologize for how bad that was. The second battle report that I did that was in the vault was with our new MiniWarGaming Space Marine chapter, and that had some rules wrong too, but I expected that because it was my first time really playing the Space Marines. But it wasn't as bad for some reason. And these are Tyranids and Necrons. These are two armies I know. So I guess it's just rusty. I've been playing Infinity and Dreadball and Star Wars, all these other ones. It had actually been a little while since I had played a 40k game, which has changed. I just played a couple others yesterday, and I'll be playing 2 more this Friday with the escalation rules. So I'm looking forward to doing that, so you can look forward to more 40k beat map bat reps in the near future. Of course, we will be shutting down for Christmas for a couple weeks, so Merry Christmas to everybody for that, and I'm looking forward to that, spending time with family. And now I'm just rambling, but it's the end of the video. I already given all the important information, so it doesn't matter. Thank you to everybody who's posted comments, who's let us know which rules we got wrong. Seems that the general consensus is you like the new style of the battle report. We'll talk about that maybe in another video. So continue giving your opinion on that so we can kind of get a general feel. Because if one person posts a comment that they like or don't like something, it's hard to just listen to one person. But when you see lots of people posting it, then you start to get a general feel of what people really like. So this is Matthew from MiniWarGaming. Happy wargaming.